Hello, my name is Susanne Rosenberg and I'm a singer, a researcher, pedagogue and professor at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm. And this presentation is about a project that I'm conducting at the moment that is called Folk Song Lab. The project Folk Song Lab is about improvising. It's a project that is about improvising folk songs, and it takes its starting point from the idea that you must, every time you sing a song, you make it new. So that there is no really original, it's only variations. And this cognitive framework, as I called it, you have to feel it every time you sing. Is in the act of singing, it appears, it is interpreted, and that it exists, actually, if you take it to the very point. This project, Folk Song Lab, is about collective improvisation from different methods that I'm trying and developing through this project. The foundations of the project is, as I already told you, it's the idea of that the song, it exists only in the act of singing. And from that idea, I have tried to develop methods and foundations that can be used then in a collective improvisation session. And the foundation you can see on the slide here is things that are kind of connected with oral tradition, things that are important in oral tradition. This quote from Bronson that is famous, and I think everybody might have heard before, that the song kind of is in the mind of the singer and it's not something that is totally stable. It is a platform for variation. This Folk Song Lab project is about doing. It's about sitting in a circle in a specific place, at a specific place, a room or something where you can feel safe. And it's about specific time for this improvisation session. And it's about doing this as it really matters. So in a real-time performance mode. And since it's collective, everybody contributes then to this session, both individually or collectively in integration with each other. Another important foundation, besides the tradition in itself and the kind of setting for it, is also using the cognitive frames of the folk singing, or the folk songs rather. So using how is a ballad, how is a lyrical song, how is a folk choral, how is a lullaby, how is a herding call, what kind of things is needed for us to understand that, oh, this is a lyrical song, this is a ballad. And from that you can of course take advantage of what people have described before you and try to use that as a starting point for this improvisation. And we also have the way of singing, the tonality, the way of expressing yourself in this kind of language. The Folk Song Lab session is improvising collectively and interacting with each other. And let's listen to a small clip of people improvising in this kind of mode. Samtidigt som man själv sjunger, ja I improvise, and the people who are in this session, they follow me instantly in this improvisation. So it's not after, but at the same time. And I don't know what I'm gonna say or what I'm gonna sing, and they follow it exactly. And from that, where I give also the instructions of what we are gonna do, things develops in this session. And in this case, it was from first the shadow singing or mirror singing, and with this instruction included. And then there was in the mode of herding call, talking. So it's phrase-based, and then it's what I call meandering. So after a while, the singers who are in this, or the participants rather, that are in this circle, they can by themselves formulate their own sentences or words, and of course also melodies at the same time as anyone else. And through that, it develops a kind of a platform for learning this kind of music, and also developing your skills in this music. So it's both about learning you can come here as a absolutely novice in folk singing and traditional folk singing from the Swedish context, or you could be a skilled singer, and you can learn and interact, and by this interaction you learn and develop your skills, both in a kind of a practical way, but also primarily in an artistic way. For me, this project is very much about how to get people to feel in the moment, in the act of singing, and not thinking about what they should do or be nervous or maybe be bored, that I think that, okay, this is too easy and so on. And there I used some concepts that I developed in earlier artistic research, and that is to take Csikszentmihalyi, who was a psychologist, his research in how you could pinpoint a person who is in flow, by seeing specific things about this person's action. And what I have been doing for the last 10 or 15 years is using these methods that he has described as pinpointing a person in flow, use them as tools in getting yourself in flow, or the people that you have in this circle in the Folk Song Lab. And those kinds of parameters or tools could be to play, have something kind of playful in it, to take risks, and to do reorientation, to present something totally new and do it, and also mimicry, of course, which is totally super important in any oral tradition, to mirroring what someone else is doing. But also creating all these tools in a way, and that is my challenge, so that you kind of forget yourself and can be in this sharp position, this singing action of singing. So what has then become the outcome of such a project? First, and maybe foremost, because this is an artistic research, is to see how can you develop the artistic perspective in singing these songs, your skills, your understanding, the artistic development and the artistic outcomes. And that is best, I think, evaluated by listening to and also making reflections of how it works for the participants in the project. Until now, I think we have done about 70 or maybe 100, I think 100 sessions at least. And at every session, people have written afterwards what they experienced in this session. And from that you can draw some conclusions. And then the second thing that is important is that it has a kind of a pedagogic outcome as well. It has to do with how good does these methods work then? Is it possible to use, for example, the idea of the cognitive frame, including then the idea of that there is a kind of way of how you make a ballad or a lyrical song, the tonality, the forms, and the singing style of a specific genre within the Swedish folk singing. Is it possible to use that as a platform and develop that through this process? And from that you can, I have tried to figure out the kind of methods, and this is also of course interesting in the perspective of the artistic outcomes, but in the pedagogical way you can say that this can be formulated as tools for improvising collectively. The third thing that has developed and has been more and more interesting through the project has to do with the interaction between people and what is called group flow. So how does it affect people sitting together in a closed circle, improvising for maybe 30 minutes in a row without any breaks? How does it affect you when it comes to blood pressure, your cortisol level, your breathing patterns and stuff? And there are a lot of research been done on singing in choirs, for example, and singing together. And this has been a very interesting thing that I would like to investigate a bit more, because when you look at the reflections that people has written after being in a session, you can find a lot of words that indicate that you feel more relaxed, you feel not stressed, you are unable to understand how long you have been singing because you have actually been present in the actual now feeling. And in this project we have had two researchers that are into the neurological field, and we have done some things where we have measured, for example, breathing patterns and heartbeat and so on. And that's a very interesting thing, I think, to continue with as well. So for the artistic concepts or the artistic results, you could say that has resulted in the knowledge in the people who has been into these sessions, that they can use it in their own artistic, when they sing on a concert or improvise with others and so on. And also I myself has just published a book about artistic process that has been a very interesting journey through this project to understand which parameters are important in an artistic process. And when it comes to the methods, that is also going to be published in a method book, like tools that anybody can try and use in their own setting. And it doesn't really has to do with Swedish folk singing. I think they could be applicable to any kind of music when singing. And the third thing is hoping to be able to include that in the final report for this project. Also the findings that others have been doing about how singing really affects you, and to connect that with the findings that I have in this project. And also for ending it up, I would like to show you just a way of how you could present actually the methods in such a project. It could be done, of course, in a book where we have pages, or it could be presented in a website, or it could be presented like this. Thank you for your attention. If you want to learn more about this project, you can always go to folksonglab.com and see what's happening at the moment.